Hi, my name's Braxton. I'm with UFL TV. I'm here interviewing. Will you introduce yourself?
My name's Rachel Namba.
Wonderful. So I'm going to be asking you a few questions about mediation. So, what is mediation and how is it used in a divorce setting?
So, mediation is a confidential process in which the parties can come together and see if they can attempt to negotiate the terms of their divorce outside of the courtroom and outside of that legal process.
Okay, wonderful. Um, so if I'm somebody who has no experience with mediation, how should I prepare for mediation?
The best way to prepare for mediation is to come to the actual mediation with any supporting documents that you are going to need to make major decisions. So that might be financial statements, statements about assets or property, information about kids, if that's applicable in your case, as well as anything that needs to be discussed or that you have some interest in.
Okay. So how does the mediation work? What are the actual processes?
So the way the mediation is generally set up is that a mediator will be considered a third party neutral, which basically just means that as a mediator, I would be facilitating the actual process in helping parties negotiate and openly communicate about what their interests are and how they would like to move forward with their dispute.
Okay. I have a couple of hypothetical questions for you. Um, so I am ready to settle, but the opposing party claims that they refuse to compromise. What can I do? What should I do in that situation?
Well, one thing about getting divorced in the state of Utah is you're actually required to attempt mediation. So sometimes it's helpful to just let the other party know that it is a requirement and it's something that you can attempt. But mediation is also something that can be utilized at any point of a marriage or a divorce, and it can also be attempted multiple times. So sometimes I think it could be helpful to start out in mediation, making smaller agreements and seeing what kind of progress you can make in building that trust and understanding that people that may not be getting along are actually capable of being more collaborative and compromising.
Wonderful. What do I do if I don't want to be in the same room as the opposing party? How would mediation work with a restraining order in place?
So, in order for mediation to take place with a restraining order, there would have to be an exception written into the order. And if that's not there already, then you can always request that from the court. And in addition, if you are uncomfortable with being in the same room or you feel like that would not be helpful to the process itself, you can do what's called a shuttle mediation, where we keep the parties separate the entire time. They have no direct contact, and I would be the party that goes back and forth to facilitate the process and to do the communication on behalf of the parties.
Wonderful. So that's all my hypothetical questions. What kind of training does it take to become a mediator?
So the state of Utah has a list of court-approved programs that you can do for training. It involves a lot of in-class learning as well as a lot of um, practicum hours where you're getting a lot of practice, shadowing other mediators and doing co-mediation.
Okay, that's wonderful. How do you help people calm down and focus on the negotiation process when things are starting to get heated? Maybe they start yelling at each other from across the table, or, one party is just mean mugging the other.
I think it's pretty typical for mediation to be occurring during people's high stress times of life. And so it's pretty common to see people get excited or upset while in mediation. And I think what I try to do is I really help people think about what they want their life to look like after mediation or after this issue is resolved, and really focus on that rather than looking at the past and focusing on hurt feelings or mistrust or anything like that.
Have you ever had any experiences when mediation has gotten out of hand, maybe very close to a physical confrontation? How did you handle a sort of situation like that?
I've never had a case where there was a physical threat. However, there have been times when their emotions are running high, and it seems like there's going to be a breakdown. And typically, that's where I, as the mediator, would end mediation simply because I don't think it's ethical to allow people to make long-term legal decisions about their lives when they're in that heightened state and they're not in a good place to make decisions.
What advice do you have for people going to mediation for the first time?
I think it's important to know that most people going to mediation for the first time are going to feel nervous, and that's normal. And they're going to feel vulnerable. They're going to feel like it's difficult to be honest or to trust the other side. And those are all normal things to experience. But because that's normal and it's happening on both sides, it's really just leaning into the process and seeing where it goes.
Has there ever been a time where you have recommended against mediation that the people have come to mediate and you can just tell right off the bat that this isn't going to be helpful for anybody?
Yes, there have been times. Mediation works best when parties are able to have open communication, operate with honesty, and if I get a sense that one side is not operating in good faith or they're trying to use mediation as a tool of coercion or simply to gain information about the other party's position or interests, generally that's not something that I want to participate in, and it's against what the best practices for mediation are. So in that case, I would be against mediating.
Okay. Is mediation supposed to be fair?
It depends on what your opinion of fair is, simply because it really is an opportunity for each party to assess what their needs are, how they would like things to unfold, and it may not align with what the court system or a different person might think is fair. But ultimately, if I can meet the needs of each party in a unique and different way, then they may feel that that's fair, and that's really what would work best for them.
Wonderful. Um, is mediation better than going to court?
I think oftentimes it can be, simply because when people make decisions for themselves and have an agreement that they have um, come to together, they're more likely to be happy with the outcomes and have more buy-in to uphold their end of the bargain. So I think it is a great opportunity for people to have more say in their major legal decisions, and they tend to be happier with those outcomes.
Wonderful. Well, that was all of my questions. Do you want to tell people where you mediate or how they can get in contact with you if they need to mediate?
Sure. So I'm a master mediator. I have my own mediation firm. It's called Done Mediation, Done Mediation. I have a website that is that same URL. And I also work on the co-parenting program with the third district in Utah. And so I do a lot of their high conflict custody mediations. And I also work for Utah Dispute Resolution, which is a nonprofit. So they do a sliding scale for mediation. I just think it's an important process that should be considered when anytime you have a dispute. It doesn't need to be a divorce, it can be any type of dispute. So I think it's a great process.
Awesome. Wonderful.